my pleasure to welcome you. It is my pleasure to welcome you once again to this program. And of course, you're going to be having a very experiential moment, a moment of learning right in the next couple of minutes that will be together on this program. So thank you very much. And now it's time we will meet our guest speakers right there on your screen. All right. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. And from that, you would understand that one of our guest speaker, Madam Chinwe, who is the special assistant to the governor on women affairs, that's to the government of Abia State. While we have another fantastic person there, in person of Elona Rezi, who happens to be the management consultant for Sidani Group. And also we have another young person, an impact maker on this list of speakers, and that's Madam Adiola Adeligba, who is the co-founder of ADEV Africa. So in the name of our regional coordinator, who happens to be the host of this event, Mr. Emmanuel Olaoloyo, I once again welcome each and every one of you to the call this afternoon. And right now, we are going into the discussion proper. As I promised you earlier, we are really going to be having a rich discussion here this afternoon. But just so, because I feel I am a little curious, I really want to know what your interest spans like. I feel like maybe in just a minute or two, maybe I should just ask one of our participants on the call this evening, just anybody, volunteer, you can feel free to unmute yourself. And I want you to briefly just tell us, what is your expectation for this program this afternoon? When you decided to join this discussion, was anything a push for you for wanting to join this discussion? Or probably I should put it as, why do you care about gender equality? Because if you really do not care, I'm sure you will not be on this call. So maybe if there's just somebody who would like to quickly volunteer in like a minute to help me with why do you care about gender equality? Anybody is free to answer that. Just unmute your mic and, or if you prefer to use the chat, I also do well to read it all out. So whichever you choose to do is all fine and great. And maybe while you're trying to use the chat, while that is ongoing, I think in a minute, just so you meet the beautiful faces behind that introduction we have just seen on the screen, I would want Madam Adiola to briefly, open her camera so that everybody in the house, you can say hello to everyone on the call. So, Mrs. Adiola, you can just say hello to the participants.
Hello, everyone, and good afternoon to you. I hope your day is going well. I want to thank you for joining this call, and I promised that it's going to be an exciting discussion. Thank you.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you very much. Madam Elona Rezi, do you want to quickly say hello to the participants on the call also? Okay. I wouldn't know whether there's a network challenge or something, but well, I believe, oh, great. In a minute, maybe she would be able to say hello to you all. So kicking off now and going on into the discussion, today, I would quickly like to engage Madam Adiola. Today's discussion is one that really cuts across diverse interest area. And I was thinking there are about two sides to the discussion scope for this afternoon. When we look at the title, we're trying to look at how we can empower women for accelerated progress. This is telling us that it's more like a gender focused. And because we have always identified a goal for the month, even the goal for the month now, coupled with the just and recently concluded International Women's Day activities, all surrounds a focus about gender equality. So it starts to appear to me and occur to me that for us to be able to have a discussion on gender equality, it must have meant that there is something happening that negated for gender equality. So I got to think about it and realized that maybe there is something that we should speak about as regarding gender inequality. So maybe in just a minute for a refresher, do you want to establish and set a pace for this discussion by briefly diversing into the discourse of gender inequality, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayowa. I apologize for my voice. I'm a little bit under the weather, and I will try as much as possible to speak audibly. So, like you rightly said, there won't be a need for providing solution if there is not a problem. So we rightly know that gender inequality is a thing in the world, and the gap between the men to the women in almost all aspects of life is really wide. And in order for us to bridge this gap, we need to come up with initiatives and programs such as this. And thankfully for the SDG 5, we know what we are supposed to we know what we are supposed to do. We know how to go about it. And you also mentioned that we are far away from achieving this thing, which we hope to achieve by 2030. But because of the gender norms in workplaces, even in homes, which is like the functional unit of every society, in homes, traditionally, there are so many stereotypes about women that keeps restricting women in achieving as much as their male counterparts. And these are the issues. These are the things that we need to discuss. How are we going to tackle these issues? How do we move faster? How do we bridge this gap faster than we've actually been doing it? There actually been, good progress, to be honest. They are good progress. These days, we see women doing great things all over the world, and it is commendable that this is happening, but we really need to do more. There's so much more to do, so many women to reach out to, so much advocacy to be done, and we just need to, discuss how we are going to get this done. And I think this is one of the reasons why we are here this afternoon to discuss.
Yes, sure. Uh, I just wanted us to kind of understand where we're coming from, and it will help us to be able to take this direction, this discussion to a particular direction of progress. So now that we understood that there seems to be a gap in the past between the different genders we have, which has kind of put women at a disadvantage. I like to believe that there are certain factors that made this happen. And these factors that has caused this to happen definitely may differ in the different zones and even around the world. What is happening in Africa may not be the same thing that is happening in Europe and the same thing that is happening in South America, like that, and in different places around the world. But now, because this discussion now is with a focus centered around Africa, I remembered in our last discussion last month at the last series, we had a discussion.
Hello.
Oh, Madam Elona, you are here. You're welcome to the call. Can you just, say hello to the participants this afternoon?
Hello everyone. I'm sorry, I've been having some technical issues, but I'm here now. Nice meeting you all. Thank you.
Oh, great, 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 great. I'd checked on you before. I figured probably the network was not being nice to us like that. But you're welcome. It's nice having you on the call. So yeah, just before you came in, we're trying to set the tone for the discussion, and we just, Madam Adiola just mentioned to us the aspect of gender inequality that is going to lead us into the pursuit of gender equality, which is the focus of this call this afternoon. Because by the end of this event, we would like to ensure that we've been able to outline series of measures that will be able to empower our women for accelerated progress within and beyond Africa. So I was making a reference to the discussion area of our event last month, which was focused on no poverty. And I got to understand that there is a major factor that touches on poverty that also seems to want to touch on the discussion of today. And that seems to be education. I think education is so much a factor that cuts across every spheres of life of all individuals. But it seems now that when it comes to gender inequality now, it seems that even education has been unequally accessible by the two genders when we talk about men and women. So just as a welcome treat for Madam Elona, I quickly want to seek your perspective on how is education contributing to gender inequality, please.
Hello, can you hear me? Just to confirm if you can hear me, please.
Oh, yes, I can hear you clearly.
Okay, thank you very much, Mayowa. If I got your question correctly, it said that how is education contributing to gender inequality, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So I always tell people this that if people knew better, they would do better. But again, sometimes it's pretty much beyond the knowledge that people have, so how they are even able to take action, right? So I'm going to approach this from two points of view, right? So imagine as a woman, um, you have two women, one is educated, one is not educated, one is exposed, one is not exposed. Who will make better decisions in the family? Who will make better decisions in the society? Who is, you know, prone to weighing decisions better as they affect their family, as they affect the future of their children, of their husbands, of the businesses and the organizations they lead? The educated woman, right? So
Of course.
once once you have the required information that you should have, then you are some of the issues around gender equality will be partially solved because you have the kind of information that will give you an edge to overcome some of the gaps or some of the challenges that you would likely come across. That's on one end. My second point of view would then be from um the point of legal frameworks or lawmakers or policies, that even support gender equality itself. My question would then be how um how educated are they in the issues of gender equality? And it's not enough to say, oh, we have gender equality policies that support gender equality. We have DEI laws in our organizations. Do you really understand why you have diversity, equity, and inclusion laws? Do you understand why? Or do you just have a nice, document that you can refer to and show to your shareholders? As the government, you just say, oh, we have a quota of 40% women, 60% men. Why? Like the education behind the reason for facilitating gender equality on a general scale. So I really do think that Again, if people knew better, they would do better. Number one. Number two, if the necessary legal frameworks were there, the laws, the policies that could support people, that could provide a platform that gives women the opportunities that they should access, right? Also believe that that would be done. And then again, there's generally this conversation about patriarchal systems, patriarchal systems within the African setting, of how generally, things tend to go to the male gender more than the female gender, and then generally the society is averse to the female child more than the male child, and all of those things that come up, right? It boils down to education, and education is really not the four walls of a school only. If Do people know why they should do something? Do they know why women should be in positions? Do they know why women should be educated? Do they know why women should have access to opportunities? That's the actual education that we have to do, and not really because I see a lot of, oh, we have 50% women on the board, 50% men on the board. Okay, so you could have women on the board, but then if they don't even understand why they are on the board as women, and if the men don't understand why to support them, then it could as well be that we have only men on the board, because they might as well not be effective. But then we have women, right? So
Yeah.
why? The question is, why should we have practice the concept of gender equality across board at every point in time? Comes back to education. People, this is why a girl child should be educated. This is why a woman should sit on the board for this. This is because a woman can do XYZ things. This is because these are the potentials a woman brings to the table. Not that men can't bring it, but then there's a popular balance in Nigeria that says two heads are better than one. Okay. And
Mhm.
if you're a Bible person like me, you would hear things like one will chase 1,000, two will chase 10,000 and stuff. There's always something. There's always a dimension to these things when people are empowered to be who they are, and they know exactly why they are doing things. Okay, because you could actually have a woman. I'm a woman, right? I could as well be on a position. It can be in government, in the private sector, in the third sector, that's the NGO space. It could be anywhere. I could be there and I don't even know why. I'm not even, you know, passing over my head to do things. And I don't still know how to do those things. I don't still know why they do those things. So even the education conversation is not just for people to say, oh, we need gender concepts adopted everywhere. No, even women need to be educated on, why do you think we preach gender equality? Do you think we really want women to, because we need the fine faces of women on every board? No, it's because there's something we know you can offer, right? Better know it, and know it very well, and come offer it to us, right? So I really think education, like I had mentioned, can be considered from different angles. And education to people, to the women themselves, to the men in our lives, and in the businesses that we operate, and all around. Yeah, education is quite very important to advancing gender equality. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. That was a comprehensive one. And while you speak, I got to understand something as to it is not just a function of inclusion now, because yeah, truly, even by statistics, it has been established that different from every other year, according to World Economic Forum, we have seen that in 2020, about 66% of girls now they complete their primary education compared to about 61% of boys. However, there is still a little gap, and this is in the furtherance of their education. Girls remains behind boys at lower and upper secondary levels. And this can be attributed to barriers which later occurs to women in several places where they found themselves. We have seen now that different from the usual time where we have lesser number of girls being in schools, things are changing, they're breaking the norms. Now girls are in school. But beyond just the primary level, we need our women to be educated, to get both secondary education, tertiary education, so that when they find themselves in spaces, in places where they have to make decisions, we are very sure that the decisions that are coming out are going to be the kind of decisions that would move the economic forward. Now, I got something from your perspective when you mentioned that we should ensure that we are not only banking on inclusion of women, because even these days, really, when you check so many boards, you see women are highly included, but their functionality in such spaces is something that I feel like you are saying we should ensure that we achieve. Now, this brings me to the next question I want to direct to Madam Eboluwa now. It appears as though Madam Elona is making a case for advocacy. She's trying to say that we need to advocate for the efficiency of women in different fields and walk of life. If we really want to see accelerated progress and we want our women to thrive, so there needs to be a case of advocacy for the efficiency of women in diverse fields. So now, banking on the previous discussion on education, Madam Eboluwa, I'd like to ask you now that what do you think is the role of education, advocacy for efficiency, and just as Madam Elena mentioned, in the case of legal frameworks, what are the positions of all these in promoting gender equality and ending, of course, the discrimination against women gender in different fields of life?
Thank you, Mayo. So I love the perspective that Ms. Elona brought in, and I may not be really delving into education as much as I would like to, because she already shed a light. So I'll just take it up from the question she asked, that what exactly are we including women for? What exactly is the capacity that they have to offer? What do we need women for? What addition can they give to wherever they find themselves? I will believe that women generally are nurturers, right? They are managers. Naturally, they just come with that strength and tenacity to micromanage. Whether micro or micro, they do well with managing anything. And when it comes to organization, when it comes to family, when it comes to society, wherever they find themselves, they do great at that. And we need to understand this strength, and we need to anchor on this strength. And this is what we need to teach and educate every woman and every man with, so that when there is an inclusion of any woman in any organization or in a family or in a gathering, we know what is expected for them to deliver. So we want to hear their voice. We want to see what they are contributing. We are not just putting them as a figurehead. We are not just putting them because we are required to put them, like she said. So what are we going to be teaching going forward? We need to teach what are the strengths of women? What are the qualities of women? These are the things that we need to educate people about, because education is actually very important. When the girl child, like in some parts of Nigeria, Africa generally, the girl child is not regarded to go to school. Why do you want to go to school? We are expected to go to school. You don't really need much. And that is why, like your statistics says, they go to primary education. Most of them do primary education. After that, some parts will expect you to just go and get married. Early marriage comes in. And then when this comes in, the boy continues to go to school. And this is what keeps creating more gaps. But when we understand that there's a particular strength that the women are going to contribute, that we might not get the exact thing from men, then we would encourage more people to actually enroll their girl child in school. And that is just it for education. And when it comes to advocacy, I think it works hand in hand kind of with education. And advocacy cover-ups for a part of education that we might not get in school, like the out of school kind of education. And this is what we need to emphasize on. I know a lot of NGOs are doing this, and they are trying to they are trying to, push out the voice that women needs to be included. They are doing great with that. But there are certain things that we also need to like focus on. We have to focus on child marriage. We have to focus on FGM, that's the female genital mutilation. We have to focus on domestic violence. A lot has been going on in this aspect, but we really need to focus on these things because these are also things that can restrict whatever progress that we are trying to achieve. We cannot move forward when women are tied down. We cannot move forward when they are subdued in marriages. We cannot move forward when they are beaten and battered and they have no voices, even in their homes. How do they now, take this voice outside, to a bigger, to a bigger organization or group of people? So these are the things that advocacy will also help us to achieve. And when it comes to legal framework, I know that in Africa now, there are a lot of laws, especially for domestic violence. There are people that they are prosecuted. It's not like a criminal act for you to actually beat up a woman, which is commendable. But I believe that there's so much to be done when it comes to legal framework. It's not just about domestic violence alone, because it covers so much more. What about the FGM? We need more laws that are guiding this. What about the early child marriage? It's still happening under our noses and nothing is being done. And the more these things are being done, carried out, some girls are going to be affected, and that is going to continue creating this gap. So these are the roles that our justice system need to come up. They need to come up with laws that would cover not only gender violence, but, FGM, restricting your girl child from going to school, or physical and even emotional violence. All these things needs to be covered up with our law system. And until we have law systems that cover all these things up, we cannot really achieve that equality that we desire. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And you see, your perspective now and your contribution has just shifted us to a new direction of the discussion. Because I quite understand now that even by my statistics, that the statistics I read out earlier, which was released by World Economic Forum, I made further study on that, and I understood that when many of these girl children here, when many of them, when they fail not to have education beyond the primary level, so what happens to them thereafter is many of them get married, or for most of them that wouldn't get married, maybe they are forced into early child labor, or they are a victim of child trafficking and all of that. So by further study, it now occurred to me that for many of these children that happen to come into this early marriage kind of system, which debar them the opportunity of higher educations beyond the primary level, it occurred to me that it has an effect on their health. Because now you were mentioning other issues that should be talked about, different from just the normal and the most widely mentioned gender-based violence almost all the time. It seems that an area in which many are not speaking about these days is on the importance of investing in women's health and their well-being. I want to agree this afternoon, or maybe rather put, I would say, let me seek the perspective of Madam Elona on this. There are so many factors that has pointed to us that many girl children, they are victims of gender-based violence, and readily they are in the midst of the gender inequality crisis. And this is really telling on their health and their well-being. So I'm asking this directly now to Madam Elona. What would you say is the importance of investing in women's health? Or let me say, how can we invest in women's health and their well-being if we really feel like we want to achieve this accelerated progress. Because when you read and you look at the statistics, the number of women that are being lost into issues of healthcare and series of medical conditions which would have been well taken care of are large in numbers by the day. And Madam Adiola even mentioned the issue of female genital mutilation. So many ladies contact several infections and some other medical conditions through just the single act, which then renders many of them maybe unfit for certain needs in the society at the long run. So, how do you think it will help us achieve accelerated progress if we would invest into women health and well-being, Madam Elona?
Okay, thank you very much. Um, I do hope that you're hearing me once again.
Very
Am I
clearly, very
audible?
clearly,
Okay, thank
very
you very
clearly.
much. So, thank you to Madam Adiola for speaking about touching on some parts of women's health. Um, she mentioned female genital mutilation, which even if it's not in the spotlight right now, like she rightly mentioned, it still happens so much right under our noses, and it comes with its own health challenges for women, most top of the list being the infections that they are exposed to as a result of the kind of practices that go with female genital mutilation. I think she also mentioned gender-based violence, right? And gender-based violence expresses itself in a form of social health situation for women. The popular one will be the mental health challenges that everybody talks about, and how women are not even confident in their own spaces. How do they even come out and talk and have a voice and everything? And then we have a host of other things that women go through, other diseases that women may experience, like HPV, human papilloma virus, and that exposes them to cervical cancer. And then we have a whole lot of other things, right? Now I'm going to refer back to my first statement that an educated woman we have or we make better decision for her family, for her community, for herself, and even for her health, right? If I don't know better, I'm not going to do better. I'm not going to take nothing serious, right? Why should we even invest in women's health? And then I really like that question because um it speaks to not just the general healthcare scenario right now in the world. It speaks to women in particular. Now we already know, and then you have already mentioned that women are very pivotal for sustainable development, right? And then women most times they are taxed with running families, they're taxed with providing for families, especially in LMICs. Okay, women sometimes are the one who are the breadwinners and what have you not, and responsible for the sustenance of the children and all of that. Now, if the woman's health is not even catered to, how can she be available for the family, for the children, and for the development of her society in general? How can she be valuable to anybody? Now, the issue of maternal and child mortality, which is kind of on the rise, and then of course, a lot of governments are doing a lot of employing a lot of interventions to address this. For one, the Nigerian government, to address the issue of maternal and child mortality, coming from the angle of spotlighting and fostering immunization programs and all of that, right? Now, all of and even immunization programs for girls, young girls as well. Most recently will be the human papilloma virus, the HPV launch that was done in Nigeria for young girls, so that they already are not exposed to the to cervical cancer and all of that. Investing generally in the health of women, I would say, gives an opportunity for not just the woman to grow. Because if you don't invest in women's health and then you come and say there's gender equality, there's gender equity, women can do this, women can do that, is a healthy person that will be available to do anything anyway. So first of all, invest in their health. make sure they are healthy, provide the necessary vaccines, the necessary programs. I don't know if it was Madam Adiola that spoke to something about sexual health. I can't quite fix that. But then invest in women's sexual and reproductive health, okay? Invest in family planning, interventions, invest in everything that concerns a woman, because it's even a healthy woman that will be like and let's not even forget that the burden that a woman has to bear already in terms of shouldering a career, shouldering a family, and herself, and the expectations of the society is already a lot. The very least that we can really do is to make sure that they have access to the right healthcare programs. They have access if they need um to even have health maintenance packages, okay, like HMO packages and all of that. If you need to have some form of financing to sustain health financing initiative for women to sustain their health, something that even gives them the access to regular health care, good health care, make sure that they are up and running, and then their health is not even hindering them from this same future that we want them to achieve. Again, like I would say, it's a healthy woman that will stand up in the morning and go to work. I will be very effective in our society, and we write policy and do advocacy. First of all, is a healthy woman. A woman that is, dealing with cervical cancer that she could have really treated, sorry, that she could have avoided in the first place, is not going to be available for all of that. Women, a lot of women, especially in NMIs, they're going through a lot, coupled with the need of poor nutrition that we are being exposed to every day by the food crisis, climate change situations, agricultural challenges, and all of that. Again, the least that we can do for women is to invest in their healthcare, because they are very pivotal in every sphere: education, agriculture, industry, the development space. They are very pivotal to sustainable development. The active participation is very important, because again, the most women generally in the society have the ears of children, they have the ears of the younger generation. They are naturally, like Adiola said, mother figures. They naturally can lead, they naturally can persuade, influence. So it's, again, is a healthy woman that can be available for all of these roles that we have defined for her. So investing in women's health is a yes, yes, is important. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I love that a healthy woman is the one that would make effective contribution to the society. Yes, and I love the pointers you gave to that. That not just in the aspect of healthcare alone, it touches down to the aspect of feeding, the aspect of uh, the family status. Is not the kind of woman that is experiencing gender-based violence that would make an effective contributor at the workspace. It is not someone who is not, cannot afford to feed effectively that you will expect to come and contribute to labor to the society. So someone said in the chat, women hub. Oh yes, women hub. Yeah, and I think this is the point. I see a lot of things going on in the chat box. So I think now that this is the time I want to, hear from our participants. If there is about one or two persons that quickly wants to make a contribution to the discussion, maybe something is already triggering within them. There's a trigger within them to say something to the discussion. Maybe you're enjoying it already. So I want someone who is interested in making a contribution to this now to kindly unmute him or herself to make a contribution to the discussion very quickly, please.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Good evening. We can hear you clearly.
Okay, thank you very much to Miss Elena. You have spoken so beautifully well, and for me, that that attention is being. Sorry, you could hear. I know you can hear some background sound. I'm still in the office. For me, the fact that more what's the word, more awareness about um human health is being made publicly, or more attention is being paid to it. For me, it's something that excites me, because as a young woman, I have battled, and I am still battling with some um human based peculiar maybe disorders, if I'll say. And to hear that there's a movement for endometriosis, there's a movement for cervical cancer, there's a movement for people who suffer with chronic um chronic menstrual pain. It's something for me that is exciting, because I know, like, we're going to get to that point where maybe as other developed countries, we are also going to adopt a system that would support women as a 9 to 5 person. Whenever maybe it's that time of the month where your period is going to come, there are those of us who still shiver. There are those of us who are still scared, like, oh, what's the week going to be like? But businesses are beginning to take cognizance to that fact, and for me, it's something that is really, really exciting. So thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much for that wonderful contribution. And just because of our time, we keep it running now. I quickly want to once again seek the contribution of Madam Adiola. We've been talking about this whole thing. We've looked at the perspective of women in the workplace, women in the family, you know, but it appears as though we've not been able to touch on a specific aspect which is of interest to me somehow, or maybe to even interest all of us. What can we say are the barriers to women leadership and political participation? It appears as though in this part of the world, you hardly find women in, too many leadership positions, or specifically in political positions. It is, if you look at the legislative, arms of Nigeria now, the ratio of men to women is so wide. If you almost everywhere, it is always so wide. In political parties, in political functions, the gap is just very wide. So, Madam Adeola, very quickly, what would you say are the barriers to women leadership and participation in politics in Africa? And well, maybe you would be able to help us with a few strategies for increasing women's participation in decision-making processes, particularly for those women who are in poverty. You do not forget now that when we look at it by statistics in Nigeria today, we still have more women living in poverty. But of course, they are still part of the stakeholders that makes up the whole economy. And if we say that the more women that would make decisions for a nation are those who are in poverty, and they are still very much not engaged, their contributions seem not to matter. Definitely, we are creating a problem which will continue to linger for a very long time. So now I want to hear from you. What would you think could be the strategies that we can adopt in integrating even women that are in poverty, or those that are not in poverty, into positions of leadership and decision-making processes, especially political leadership in Nigeria and in Africa as a whole, please, Madam Adiola?
Thank you, Mayowa. So the thing is, to even attempt this question, we have to look at it from where we started this discussion from. It's kind of interwoven. And then when you look at it, you have to look at it from social lens, economic lens, cultural lens, and then the political lens itself. So I will start from the political lens, because that's the anchor of the question. To begin with, politics in Africa is is not where we expect it to be. It's not really democratic, so to say. And the whole idea of godfatherism, the whole idea of having, rules and requirements for you to attain before you can participate in service to public is really, really, really discouraging. So when we look at it, some of these requirements are always too much or too tough for women to um acquire or to have. So this disqualifies them sort of. And when you look at godfatherism, for instance, it means that you have to really suck up to somebody who is the godfather to endorse you. So if this person does not endorse, then you might have no chance at all. And for someone to endorse you, it means you have to a certain extent, do the biding or do the will of this person, be friends with this person. And for you to get favor, sometimes it leads to sexual harassment and demands on some people's moral and integrity. And when you look at it, you weigh it and you feel like, is it really worth it? Because I want to serve, then I have to compromise on my integrity or on my moral standing. So, and this goes all the way down, even to university setting. When you look at university governance, the SUG bodies, I remember back then I used to I read for the vice president of my department, and then that was how I saw that this was even happening even in schools. This is preposterous, but to look at it is whatever is happening in the society is what will happen everywhere in any kind of political gathering. And if somebody is not saying, oh, I want to sleep with you before I can endorse you for this role, then you don't have no chance. So it's either you do it or you don't. And if you don't, it means you don't have a chance. So like a chat pop up now, even in churches, these things happen and it is really sad. But it's the reality that we'll find ourselves. And for us to have more women represented in politics, these things have to stop. They just have to stop. And then we have the lack of gender quota. I know it might look like, oh, let's just let's give a particular quota to the women. But it is important for these laws to stand. It is important for us to have that even in government. I know that Lagos State have been doing these things involving women in politics and government for some years now. And it's kind of encouraging, but more needs to be done. Like when it comes to the House of Representatives now, how many women would we find there? And it takes me back to education. When women are not properly educated, when they are not exposed, when they don't even know the power that they have, the quality that they can offer to the public service, how are they supposed to go for these positions? How are they supposed to participate? That is why we need to keep educating women and the whole society in general. And then there's the whole stereotype of women are supposed to be at home. You're supposed to just take care of your family. You are not supposed to lead. It happens in churches, it happens in normal gatherings, it happens in small organizations, it happens in corporate organizations. You are not expected to speak. You're supposed to have a male counterpart that speaks for you. You pass your ideas through this person, and this person conveys it for you. If this is what we continue to do, then the participation of women would not even, it won't be commendable at all. And when we look at it, if people that are educated are still struggling this much to participate, what will happen to women, the women that are living below poverty line? How are they going to participate? For those kind of women, I think what we just need to do is to engage more grassroots politics. It's very simple. If there are more grassroots politics, even below the local government kind of politics, let's involve these people, because politics is not necessarily about money, but we've made it about money in Africa, and it makes it really tough. If you don't have this money, how are you supposed to do it? When women are struggling to even, have the job, that their male counterparts are they supposed to make as much money as their male counterpart, despite working so hard, even more than their male counterparts. Now, when this continues to happen, and then you're supposed to pay maybe I don't know how much, maybe like 25 million for you to participate in an election. That is just for the form, not even about the campaign yet. All of these things makes it really difficult. These are the things that needs to be regulated. These are the things that we need to look into. These are the things that advocacy also needs to focus on, not just saying, oh, we want more women. How are these women going to engage? How exactly are they going to, get into the situation? And then there's the whole violence and intimidation that happens in our political sphere. Like even to men, it happens that once you are not wanted or once you are not endorsed, then you're not safe. Anybody can just pop up and intimidate you to stepping down. Don't do this. If this is happening to men, then what chances do women actually have? So these are the issues that keep like popping up and keep restricting women in participating in politics. Because truth be told, women are more, like I said earlier, they are better managers because naturally they nurture, naturally they micromanage, they multitask. That is what women are good at. So and when it comes to political processes, I think those are strengths that will work very well. So if we don't have as many women in our political offices and government bodies, then we are at disadvantage. But we can't even see it that we are at disadvantage yet. Or maybe we are just okay with the level that we are operating at. I don't know which one it is, but we just need to, and this change needs to start from individual because it starts from family. Because family, sometimes you'll be like, a woman says, oh, I want to do this. I want to go into politics. From the family itself, they start discouraging her that, what are you going to do there? Why? What? Have you faced your family first? And all of those kind of discouraging comments. So we really need to change if we want things to change. We need to encourage women. We need to train them. We need to let them know how to go about these things. And we need to improve grassroots politics so that women can have a good start into politics. Because if you don't give them a good start and they have to go through the old godfatherism, expensive requirements, and all of that, then that is already a disadvantage for women. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you very much. Yeah, I love the fact that these discussions they are sometimes based on the experiential aspect of it makes it more interesting. You can tell now that for someone who has had the experience of the SDG, the SDG system of governance in uni, you could easily figure what probably is going to play out when you come to the big field of politics in the national space. And yeah, it's so disheartening that these things are happening. But yeah, this is the more reason why we're having this kind of conversation. So that maybe one way or the other, when this people get to see, when they get to hear that people are starting to talk on discuss on things like this, people are raising their voices on subjects like this, maybe somehow they would be able to choke down the habit, and through this we would be able to have more women have freedom of participation in national politics and governance and all of that. Now, talk about the grassroots that you spoke about. Of course, I did mention earlier too that we seem to have more disadvantaged women at the grassroots. They are disadvantaged by education, financially. In fact, most of the time, ex-wisely, they are just so faced with too many things beyond them. But these are still the same set of people who make the larger number of women stakeholders within the economy. So I was now thinking within myself, and I would like to seek the knowledge of Madam Elona on what solutions do you think, or what initiative and programs do you think that we can facilitate for women's access to financial resources, not just with financial resources, maybe to even financial literacy. Of course, now we are trying to raise a force, women who can accelerate progress, empowered women. So it means that when we're trying to look at empowering women now, we're talking about the grassroots development now. We are trying to, talk about the initiatives and strategies that we can put in place for entrepreneurship opportunity, for equality of employment, for easy access to employment, for financial inclusion and access to financial resources. So maybe in just a few minutes, Madam Elona, you can quickly contribute to initiative and programs or strategies that will facilitate women access to financial resources. Let's put it together, economic freedom in the grassroots areas, please. Madam Elona?
Sorry, I was speaking actually. Yeah, so thank you
Oh,
so much.
yeah.
Thank you,
Oh,
Mayowa, and thank you to my co-speaker, Madam Adeola. I'm really enjoying this conversation, and um, I do hope that we'll be able to take some steps forward after now. So your question is how can we even economically empower women, right? And I'm just going to refer to a statement that Madam Adiola made about a lot of women not even having access to education. And I mean, how can they even be in positions of power when she was speaking about, political appointments? And that also, I want to reference that with regards to community women. A lot of community women, let's not even go to women who are in their 40s. Let's start with ladies that are in maybe their 20s or something. A lot of them are not as educated as you think. They probably just stopped at the secondary level and they don't have enough finances to, further their education. They didn't get scholarships. Government scholarships are very biased and, could have a lot of godfatherism again attached to it. And then a lot of them are already disadvantaged in even the educational bits. And some of them resort to having soft skills, hard skills. They could make one or two crafts with their hands and all of that. And, they have businesses. And then the second problem they begin to face now is access to money, access to capital. And for those that already have little businesses, how can they even scale it? And then you have financial institutions, while a couple of them, like microfinance bank, cater to these women. You have other big, banking institutions saying, "Oh, your projects are not bankable. We can't put our money there because we don't know how we're going to get our investment out and all of that." So it's a chain of problems upon problems for most uneducated women, right? And how can we even help them since they didn't even have the opportunity to go through the 4 walls of the school? I'm going to start with the first point: financial literacy. Teach me about money. So as I grow older in life, I actually realize that you teach people about money, that you actually learn how to spend money and you learn how to make money. I, I, I I- well, streets, according to Nigerian parlance, street sense will only take you thus far, right? You need to learn how to make money and learn how to um spend the money itself. These are not things that, even if, oh, they've been doing businesses for years, if we want some structure around, putting in application for major loans, major financial um and business expansion grants and all of that, these are things that government and institutions, private sector institutions, even the non-governmental organizations, will have to invest money into financial literacy for women, teach them about money. So that we can move past the situation of these women, we are not sure of how much, or we're not sure of how to help them because we are not sure of how they're going to turn around our money. We would have successfully moved past that to say we have trained so and so women on this type of skill, any financial skill whatsoever. And for that reason, we can now entrust them with 500,000, 1 million naira. This is how they're going to turn it around. They are skilled, they have the knowledge on it. We are going to guide them, we're going to mentor them through the process. So, first of all, how to even start with even economic empowerment for women? Financial literacy. It's very important. Popular saying again is, teach me how to fish, don't give me the fish. It's really nice to be handing palliatives and handling handing over um you know cash to women and cash to people and all of that. Having cash transfer programs is really nice. Oh, but if you really want that to be sustained, just teach the woman how to do a business, how to make money, give her the money, guide her through the process turning that um turning that uh, uh, capital that you gave to her into profit, and then reinvesting it again. And all of these things begin to make the woman and even her society to be economically, free. They are not burdened. We see women who, again, they are the breadwinners of the family, and then maybe they are single mothers, or their husbands are not so well to do, and then they are burdened with paying the school fees of children and all of that. And there's really a lot for them to handle, plus themselves again. Because it seems like when we're talking about women, we forget about women themselves in the conversation. I'm talking about every other person except the woman involved, right? And then they have a lot of things to handle. So financial literacy to start with, right? And let's not also forget that um, we have microfinance programs, like I mentioned earlier, that they can really access and get grants, get business loans and all of that. We have women focused business incubators. I'm not here to sell any organization or brand, but I know that Access Bank does something on focus on women. I don't know, W initiative or something like that. I can't really remember the name, but I know that a few financial institutions have a few programs that are targeted at women businesses, incubator and accelerator programs, and all of that. And even policies, gender responsive policies to banks, to public financial institutions, that if it's a woman business, this is how you treat it. This is the amount of interest you should even take from her. This is that. Policies that naturally just even tend to favor the woman, that would make her to, quickly stand on her feet and all of that. I believe that starting with financial literacy first and giving her access to the actual capital, the actual financial mentorship and support and hand holding that she will need through the phase of all of that. I believe that it would contribute to scaling economic empowerment of women in our societies generally. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was very comprehensive, and I love the fact that you touched on the different angle that we can look into. And while you were speaking, I see some things happening in the chat. People were trying to buttress that truly financial literacy is very, very important for women. And when we teach women how to manage their resources efficiently, this would help them to leave the poverty cycle early enough, and they can also liberate the people that are around them. So someone also said that we need to give women access to many opportunities, just as you said, tech trainings, 21st century digital skills, and so many other opportunities like that. And yes, while that was going on, I see Madam Chiwe join the call. I love that Madam Chiwe was here when we were talking about the involvement of women in political engagements and political leadership. However, now that she's here, there is about a whole lot of things that I just quickly, in a few minutes, want her to touch on. But before that, I'd like to welcome Madam Chinwe to the call this evening. Madam Chinwe, if you can hear me, can you just say hello to the house? I guess maybe network. I don't know. Maybe she's having network challenges. Okay. Uh, Madam, okay, someone is okay, Madam Adiola. Oh yeah, please speak now, Madam Adiola.
Okay. Thank you very much, Elona. I find the last discussion very, very interesting and excellent. But I have something to add. I mean, it was Ford when she was delivering that. I thought about it, and then while we are like, you know, exposing women to all of these financial resources, the literacy and everything, what happens to the illiterate? What happens to the women that don't have access to education at all? Because amongst them, we also have people that are really um business oriented, that have the drive and tenacity to run successful businesses. So what can we do? What exactly can we do to help these people? How do we connect all of these resources somehow to these people as well? And I was thinking maybe the NGOs, some of the NGOs that we have can, take this as an initiative to also empower uneducated women with financial literacy. Now, this may not be really straightforward like those that are educated and can easily, sign up for all of these things. Some women cannot just walk in. Some of them don't even have bank accounts. They can't even walk into the bank to know that, okay, there's this opportunity at Access Bank, or there's this one that Providus is doing. So the role of the NGO now will be to be like a bridge connecting these people to successful resources that can help them with their businesses. I don't know if it makes sense, but when she was speaking, I just kept thinking about it because somehow these people too needs to be helped if we want to, surmount the issues of poverty, because they qualify. If we want to look at it, they have what it takes. All that they lack is just education, and that shouldn't like make them miss out on the great opportunities that their counterparts that are educated are getting when it comes to businesses, and the organization can verify that yes, this person is actually capable of running a successful business. Then there should be a body or bodies that would help them stand in gap for them and ensure that they get access to all of the resources that they need to put into their businesses, establish their business, expand their businesses, and be successful women in their own, in their own space or in their own way. It's just a thought, and I think it's something that we should look into going forward. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Madam Adiola. I see there's been quite a number of action areas that have emanated from this discussion this evening. It's getting so interesting that I'd love for us to continue to, talk on this, but of course, we have to respect time and the fact that each and every one of us still needs to go back to one thing or the other. So, it has really been an insightful section. Of course, this is one section that I think I would even want to listen to over and over again because, the quality of discussion has been, the top notch this evening. And I enjoy the fact that, for everyone that has been on the call, it has been engaging, it has been participatory, and everyone has one or two things to go home with. So, talking about a few things that stood out for me in this discussion today, I see the aspect of saying, firstly, we have to educate our women. We need to, okay, so sorry, Madam Chinwe, I just noticed your hand. Yes, Madam Chinwe, good evening. Can you unmute your mic now, ma'am?
Hi. Um, First of all, let me apologize. I am actually at the Commission on the Status of Women, and I was unable to log in because I've been attending an event here, and a lot of the noise and where I am, I've not been able to join. But I've listened to a few bits of the discussions. Maybe I will start off from where Adiola, I think she was the one I met while speaking, and the questions she was raising about just empowering women who are not literate, let's not say illiterate, women who are not literate and women who have some level of literacy. But do we ignore them or do we not make provisions for them? I don't know. My name is Chinwe Onyukwu. For those of you who may not have known, I am a gender development and peace specialist, and I have been in this field until recently when I had to go onto the other side to work with the government, the civil society sector for over 2 decades. Now, in terms of ensuring that we have economic empowerment for women who are educated, who are in the business forum, who are the ones who we should also think about how we can bridge the gap. Empowering women economically, of course, we know through equal opportunities to employment. A lot of the times, women who are educated are not given equal employment opportunities or even financial services and entrepreneurship support that they need to contribute to the overall economic growth and poverty reduction. Women's empowerment goes through different multi-sectoral areas, and if bridging the employment gap, and not just bridging the employment gap, also ensuring that there is equal level of pay, equal pay for equal work. You recognize that most women who, even when they are employed in the same sector with their fellow men, some of them do not get to have the same amount of pay that the man receives. This has nothing to do just with how experience, nothing to do with experience, nothing to do with knowledge of or expertise or skills of the work, but rather it's just a matter of gender and the patriarchy that we are all talking about. Most institutions believe that paying women the same amount of remuneration that they pay men will only make women feel much more, make women feel that they have rub shoulders with men, make women feel that they can speak in the space where men are speaking. And this is one of the things that women are fighting for. I'm glad that you know that in this year's International Women's Day theme, as well as the CSW theme, what we are looking at is inspiring inclusion, investing in women, and accelerating progress to ensure gender equality. We must find a way to bridge the equal the employment gap. We must also find a way to ensure that women in their different spaces in where they are working are also paid as much as, because financially, if women are able to get up to that status, to be able to provide and be independent financially, then they can be able to compete favorably, effectively, even in the political space. And with that also, they can be able to speak against all the stereotypes that plagues them and prevents them from being able to aspire to leadership positions. I don't want to waste your time. I know that time is running out, so I don't take up the remaining space that you have. I just thought I should just respond to what Adela was asking, and then we can go ahead with the meeting. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Madam Chinwe. And just before you go, because I know you are a very engaged person, I was just thinking maybe you could just share like 30 seconds, your thoughts on how we could gladly ensure that our women are adequately empowered and they make up independent women in the society. Maybe just some thoughts different from what has been discussed since, man.
I say hello. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can hear you, ma. I guess maybe your network, I can't hear you again. Okay, maybe I'll just come back to Madam Chinwe. Madam Helena,
Hello?
maybe.
Hello?
Okay, okay, I can hear you now, ma.
Okay. I was just trying to say that one of the things we should understand that is empowering women both educationally, economically, politically. It's not just a moral need, but it's something that is strategic and a necessity for accelerating progress in all aspects of the society. Economic empowerment of women requires a lot of things, and that includes increasing women's access both to resources and opportunities, and also reducing discrimination and violence against women. Violence against women is one of the things that prevents women from being able to aspire. Improving their overall economic environment and climate for women, improving women's access to resources, financial resources, and opportunities that will provide them access to credit, provide them access to land, provide them access to productive assets, not just little assets, just like Adela was mentioning earlier. When we give women 10,000, 20,000 naira, 30,000 naira, 50,000 naira, it's not enough to be able to push them to that level of financial independence that we expect them to. And this is why we need assets, financial assets that come from systems like the banks that will be able to provide something that will ensure that there is a lasting legacy of productivity that comes out through that. And also improving the gender gap in various domains. We all know that even in education, there are still some communities that still find it difficult to allow their female children to access to education. So providing equal opportunities for women in all these areas not only promotes social justice as we know and equality, but it also fosters a more diverse and inclusive society. And this is essential for driving innovation and sustainable development. In the tech world now, we are beginning to see that more women are beginning to spring up. When we have more and more young people who are able to use their technological skills to build wealth, not just for themselves, but for their family, their communities, we begin to see some form of transformation. And that is what we should also be pushing at. Innovations that will help young people to make strategic inputs into the economy, into the political sector, and drive growth in their different areas. Thank you. Hello?
Thank you very much,
Hello?
ma. Thank you very much. That was a very comprehensive one. Thank you very much, ma. Madam Helena, your closing thoughts, please.
Just can you hear me? I like to actually ask before I start talking.
Okay, maybe network is also an issue for Madam Helena. Madam Adiola, please, your closing thoughts, and we'll be closing this section thereafter.
Thank you, Mayowa. So, after all that has been said, we just need to go out there with the mindset that we can be the change, or the change can begin with us. We need to constantly look at how we can empower women. Whether you're a woman or you're a man, start from your small circle and try as much as possible to always empower women, whether in words or in action, because it begins with words. You don't want to discourage women that are trying to do something remarkable. You don't want to be the one to pull them down. You don't want to be the one to not be supportive. So if you have friends, you have families, relatives that are interested in being more to themselves, to their community or to the nation, please encourage them to do these things and educate as many people as possible as well to join forces together to continue to empower women in all of these things. If we start small, it's definitely going to turn into a massive, you know, effort. And collectively, we are going to be able to achieve the progress that we desire and bridging of gap that is between the man and the woman in our society. So that's just what I have to say. Closing.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And special thanks to all our guest speakers for this evening. Madam Chinwe, Madam Elona, Madam Adola. You all have brought years of experience, great insights, and contribution to the discussion. We really.
I think she spoke now.
Yeah, I think I heard someone's voice too, but I don't know. I can't hear it again.
Hear me now?
Okay, Madam Elona, yes, we can hear you.
I'm so sorry. We all know how the connectivity issues can be. Yeah. So, you asked for closing thoughts, and I will just say that, in addition to what Madam Adiola has said, that women should show up more. We know that, fine, these challenges, we are facing them, they exist, they were woven into the intricate nature of society, and just somewhere in a subtle manner, we are reminded every day of our inadequacies, of the things that I know that women are not supposed to do, and all of that. Tone down your life, tone down your voice, and all of that. But women should show up, and in showing up, know your onions. If you have to read, read. If you have to know your business, know it. Anything you have to do so that when you show up, your voice is heard, please do it. And in addition to that, again, is to say that data is key. A lot of the things we are saying right now, if you go to some of these communities, some of these villages, proper records as to the number of people, how impacted are they, how many, what level of assistance would they require, all these level of details in most communities are not available. So paying attention to the data that would inform our decision making, that would inform those policies, that would inform the interventions that we want to even deploy is very, very important. We could start with working with the local government authorities, and even having like comprehensive data of these people that we think that should have this support, have access to these resources and assets, and then we can be sure of making better decisions that that improves the life of everyone involved. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Madam Helena. That was very insightful. And once again, I say thank you to all our participants. It's been some 1 hour 30 minutes here of good discussion. Your contributions are highly valued.
I have something to say briefly. Sorry.
Okay.
It just dropped to my mind now. I remember Elena said something about it earlier about women related health issues. So I just want to put it in this platform so that it be there for anyone that listens. We should try as much as possible not to be the one that discourage women to speaking out about these things, because there are so many people that are not aware, so many people that are not educated about these things. The more people speak out, the more other people that are going through the same thing will know they are not alone. And then they are also encouraged to speak out, to seek help and get help, be it PCOS, be it endometriosis, be it mental health issues, be it postnatal depression, anything at all that is related to women health. And people are going through a lot, and they don't feel comfortable speaking about these things, because even the few people that speak out, sometimes people try to shut them down and look at them somehow. So please, let's try as much as possible not to be the person that do that. Instead, let's try to help them propagate these things that they are trying to say, so you can get to more people. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. And of course, I understand that we are all enjoying the discussion. Please follow us across our social media. The discussion would somehow continue in trivias, and we would have extracts uploaded, and we can push it across board, reshare, repost, and start an advocacy course through that. And of course, you can join us again next month as we examine another goal. It will be communicated across our social media platform also. We'll be glad to have you again. Thank you very much this evening and enjoy the rest of your evening, everybody. So bye for now. See you next time.
Bye bye. Thank you, Mahiwa.
Bye, everyone.